right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Fearcast. This is the podcast dedicated to OCD and anxiety spectrum disorders and getting your life back. I'm your host, Kevin Foss, and I'm a licensed therapist specializing in OCD and anxiety. And thank you all so much for joining me for this episode. This is an episode on the cusp of the OCD conference. For everybody who's listening to this, this will be released post-conference. So I don't know what chaos happened at the conference. I have nothing to say about any weirdness that happened or greatness that happened, but that thing that happened was awesome, or that thing that happened was awful. Am I right? So whichever one was accurate, I'll just kind of splice that in just to make sure I'm still relevant with what was happening. So either way, but for all of y'all who went, awesome. For all those who watched online, awesome. And for all those who are going to benefit from the people around them, hearing things, knowing things, learning something at the conference, also awesome. So right now, I'm looking forward to it. There's less dread than there is normally going to the conference. I have some of my own social anxieties going to the conference, so I'm gearing myself up to people, and I've got a people all weekend, but I'm going to try to take my hat and just kind of pull it down low and just go. But really, I know I'm also going to get sucked into conversations and stuff, which is good. It's good. It's helpful for me. I know that, but y'all know you don't want to do the hard stuff too. Hard stuff is hard. It's in the name. It's hard stuff. Anyways, I'll go and I'll talk to people. Anyways, so here's what's happening for today. So I got an email, and the name is gone now. I don't know where the name is, but somebody messaged me and said, "Hey, you know what'd be nice is if you had somebody on to talk about the other side of the experience of relationship OCD." All right, so we've done episodes on relationship OCD, and I've answered a gaggle of questions of it. I had a researcher talk about it and all this stuff. But it's always about the individual who has ROCD. But there's not a lot for the partner, what the other person is going through, how they are dealing with it, what their experiences are like, what works, what doesn't work for them. So somebody wanted to know, so they messaged me, and I said, that's a great idea. So I reached out, asked some people around, and I found someone who is able to share their experience. And lucky for us, not only do they have the experience, well, unfortunately for them, they had the experience of being the partner of someone with ROCD, but they're also a clinician. So they're going to have a unique experience that should be able to really help kind of put this in perspective, kind of offer another way to look at it. But you know what? We're going to see how it goes. And I say we're going to see how it goes because I haven't interviewed them yet. I have a session right now. My person's almost going to be here. Y'all can look at the light, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to interview them soon and then put this up. So I just wanted to record the introduction first before we jump into it, and then I'll splice it all together, and the magic will be there. So this interview will be with, has been with, depending on the timing, Danielle Cohen. So let me tell you a little bit about her. So Danielle Cohen is a licensed marriage and family therapist specializing in treatment of OCD and anxiety-related disorders, utilizing a comprehensive range of evidence-based therapies, including exposure and response prevention. This is a big list. Exposure and response prevention, acceptance and commitment therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, habit reversal training, comprehensive behavioral model. That's for hair pulling, skin picking. Comprehensive behavioral treatment or intervention for tics, for tic disorders. In Tourette's disorders. Where did I leave off? Supportive parenting and for anxious childhood emotions. SPACE. Danielle guides individuals in overcoming their fears and helps them live continuously fulfilling lives. In addition to her rewarding therapeutic work, Danielle facilitates the clinical and operational growth of clinicians at Cohen OCD Therapy by assisting in clinical training and providing operational oversight. So, without further ado, everybody, this is my conversation with Danielle Cohen. Danielle Cohen, thank you so much for joining us today for the Fearcast to talk about your experiences, good, bad, or otherwise, with relationship OCD.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So when I initially reached out to that Facebook group, you jumped on and you were like, "Oh, that's me," and then like 3 other people were like, "Oh, that's her." They're like, "Interview her." So I was super excited, and I don't know a ton of your story, and I'm going to call that for my own benefit because I want to go into this without any preconceived notions, but just for us and the listeners, just to hear what it has been like to be, to have dated, not currently dating. I guess you're married. You should still be dating. Anyways, that's a whole other topic of a conversation. So what it was like to date, when you started to notice relationship OCD, what it's been like to be married, how you made that decision, all that stuff, what you hate about him the most. This is where you get to say all the weird things about your husband that you want. And don't worry, no one's going to know. But
except all of you.
Oh, except for all of you. But we're in the tree of trust, everybody, right? We're gonna we can say those things. I'll talk trash about my wife if you want me to.
I'm sure she'd love that.
She'd love that. She doesn't listen. My mother-in-law does, but that's a separate one. So, all right. So why don't we just start off with, where should we start? I guess tell me a little bit about how you two met. What did you notice about him? Where was it? What was, tell me a little bit about just the early side of dating.
Yeah. Well, so it is an interesting story. We met in graduate school to become therapists.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we're both OCD therapists, actually. So that's interesting. But yeah, we met first day of orientation, and we didn't like each other at all, actually. We kind of hated each other, which is
like any long-lasting relationship.
Yeah. They have to grow on you.
Yes.
Yes. He didn't like me because I was too serious and resting bee-faced, I guess. And I didn't like him because he was pretty much the opposite, way too goofy and not buttoned up enough for me.
He needed to pull his ass together, is what you're telling me.
Yes, we balance each other out in that way.
Fair.
Yeah, so met in therapy school, and just kind of grew, and we spent more time together, and naturally he would talk to me about his OCD, and actually I have OCD also, so we had that in common.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so we just found common ground in that respect. And I think really he was very just upfront and honest about the OCD, relationship focused OCD, because it, had a big role in other relationships in the past and kind of led to them and their demise. So I think he was more upfront about it this time around. And we went to his therapist, his OCD therapist, and I learned, I have OCD, so I understand how that works, but specifically the relationship OCD piece, how that functions, and that was very helpful.
That's
at OCD LA.
Okay, I will ask other questions later. So, fair enough. So, I mean, in that process, what was it like having those initial conversations where, I can't imagine on, first day of, therapy school, they were like, "Hey, everybody, go around and introduce yourselves. And do you have any clinical diagnoses? Go ahead, chat." How did that come out? Because I know for a lot of folks, it can feel, it can feel daunting and it can feel terrifying to say, I have this thing, this stigma to me, and I don't want to share it with I don't want to share it with anybody, much less a potential romantic partner. What were some of those early conversations like? I know we're kind of drifting away just from relationship OCD, but tell me a little bit about what that was like to just share that with one another.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think I would fall into that category of people that was whoa, I don't want to share, that I have OCD for whatever reason. That's, taboo. We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
And he was much more open about it because he, I guess, had more experience in therapy for it and was, accepting. He had gone through his acceptance of the diagnosis and whatnot. I'm pretty sure it was very I have OCD. It looks like this. I want to be an OCD therapist, even like, and help other people that have this and work on the stigma. So that was nice. And what's the word? Like a change of what's that therapy term?
Sublimate?
Jesus. No, when you like have a change of experience. It doesn't matter.
Epiphany?
Sure. That was an epiphany.
These are two people who have both gone through graduate school and we're trying to remember a therapeutic term.
Yes.
This is what happens, just everybody, so in case you're wondering.
We do remember some things, just not everything.
Some things. Okay, so some of those initial conversations you were having, so it sounds like, he was really open about, what his experience was like. He's kind of gone down the therapy trail for a little while, knew to a certain degree what was going on. So it sounds like in that he'd shared a little bit, he was certainly aware that relationship OCD had certainly gotten in the way of his past relationships. I mean, yes. Would you be willing to share a little bit about what he shared about the way ROCD had impacted past relationships?
Yeah, for sure. So let's see. He had told me and shared that a lot of like confessing, right? Okay. Like he combined with like moral scrupulosity, OCD symptoms. Like if he would like look at another girl like on accident or on purpose and like, notice that they were attractive, to confess that to his girlfriend at the time. And, hearing that as a person that doesn't have OCD and maybe doesn't understand the nuances of it can feel very like personal and feel very like off-putting, right? So, of course, it was to that person and led to a lot of like, big fights and conversations and a lot of oversharing and a lot of confessing things and a lot of rumination, being in his head all the time and like not present in the relationship and just all that good stuff coming out.
Yeah. So within those past relationships, was your husband the person that called off those relationships, or did they make the call for him?
I think he was the one because it got too emotionally like taxing. Like, I'm hurting my girlfriend, like by telling her all these things, like I'm making her cry all the time. I'm like a horrible need to like get out of this. Right. But obviously that doesn't work because it'll just bleed over into the next relationship if you don't address it. So it's kind of like an avoidance compulsion, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. At what point, from what you know, at what point did he decide to start turning things around and say, like, I'm gonna get a handle on this?
Yeah. I think it was all in college when he was like really like non-functional. Like he was like bedridden and like pulsing in his head all the time and not going to class and, failing out of classes and just like literally like curled up in the fetal position, ruminating and doing all that kind of stuff. And I think then his parents, my in-laws, stepped in and they're like in their New York accents, you're going to treatment. And he went. Solid
impression. I've not met these people. That sounds good.
We all know who they are. No, just kidding.
Fair enough. But so at some point he kind of, decided he needed to face it, or it was decided for him. He needs to kind of pull it together, get into therapy, started engaging. From what your understanding was it smooth sailing, or were there hiccups and ups and downs?
He tells a wonderful tale of the beginning stages when he was happy. Now, looking back on it, when his therapist, Laura Yoakum at OCDLA.
I love you, Laura. She's the best.
I love her. She's fantastic. But she made him so nervous and anxious that he vomited in the session. And then she proceeded to say, do you mind if I keep that for my emetophobia patients?
That's a great. Now, okay, everybody out there who doesn't know, this is the stuff that legitimately goes through the heads of OCD therapists. Like, that's disgusting. Can I keep that? Because that's super helpful for this other person.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And anyhow, and also I can absolutely see Laura saying that. Okay, so things were going fine in therapy for him. And he was making some progress and kind of working on things. Where in this process did you meet him? Were you at the tail end? Were you the recipient of all this, or were you kind of in the middle of it?
Yeah, I was definitely at the end.
Okay.
A couple months out from it, I think. So I got the advantage of having the full treatment being completed before our relationship began. That's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So as he's, kind of has shared a little bit about his story and at what point did you decide to bury the hatchet with one another and decide to actually be friends and, perhaps go out on a date or be attracted to one another, because that's a decision that we make. What was that like? Just romantically, what was that like? It's nice. It's romantic. Yeah.
I think we just kind of grew on each other, right? Those annoying things that you didn't like in the beginning now become endearing and cute. He says he just liked my orderliness and perfection, perfectionism coming out in school. Like, I have to know everything and get an A and be organized with my little pencil cases and all that shit. And I liked, that he was the opposite and making me feel like less like all clenched up with anxiety. So I think those initial things that bugged us really just dissipated and became more endearing the more time we spend together.
Fair enough.
Which happens.
That can tend to happen. Yeah. So at this point he's gone through treatment. Ostensibly he's fixed, right? No problems at all. Were there any, or at what point, I should say, for the listeners, this was sarcastic. At what point were there signs of kind of OCD peeking its way through or trying to make a comeback?
Oh, I got a good one for you.
Ooh.
Very early on in the relationship, we had our first fight about, I don't even remember what it was about at this point. We had our first fight. It was maybe a couple weeks, a month into the official relationship. And his relationship OCD sees the fight and goes, I think we just have to break up.
Yeah.
I think that's it. We're fighting. Yeah. And I go, no, I'm not going to let you.
So in this, he tried to take the initiative to break up with you and say, I just don't think, because good relationships don't have fights, obviously.
Yes, right. In his OCD brain, you don't fight,
right.
Which is that's not true. Great relationships, it's healthy to fight, It's healthy to talk about things.
Yeah.
But to OCD, it's not healthy. It's a sign that maybe this isn't the right relationship or the right person for you. Because if you were, why would you be fighting?
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
So kind of it is an escape.
Yeah. Now, did you? What was that like for you, being on the recipient end of this? Because you have a unique perspective. On the one hand, you are an OCD therapist. You also have OCD yourself, so you know what this cycle is like. But you're also a human in a relationship with another human, and this person's saying, "I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think back then, I wasn't an OCD therapist, and I wasn't even a person that went through really like actual ERP treatment or anything for the OCD. I dabbled here and there with, non-specialists, and they did a pretty decent job for a non-specialist. But anyway, I didn't really have all that expertise, back then too. So, at first it is very like jarring. Like, what are you talking about? We just had a fight. Like, what? And I guess it just, I just was like, something funky is here going on. Like, we're just having a fight. Like, we don't need to break up. That's dramatic. Like, let's take a step back. I'm not going to let you break up with me. We'll have our conversation when you're calm, and then we'll see if you still want to break up with me and revisit it at a later date. But like with OCD, there's that sense of urgency. Like, you have to do it right now and end the conflict, which is what he tried to do. And it didn't work.
Naturally. So you then came in and said, no, this ain't going to happen. Mm-hmm. Then what happened?
Then I think it was, we then had like, the chat about what the fight was about. But I think that it's not always like that, right? Like, when I do these kind of podcasts and talks, I always like preface what I'm saying with like, I know I'm probably not the norm, right? Like, it didn't, react super like put off by the, I want to break up with you. I didn't, react to that really like I would think most people do and do in this situation. So I think it's super easy to personalize it and to, be like, what is wrong with this person? Like, what's wrong with me that they want to break up with me so quickly? And that's hard, right? It's really hard to think about that and sit with that. I get it for people who have that reaction, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. What's that?
That just wasn't my reaction.
It wasn't your reaction. Right. But I mean, and that could be, it's interesting again to kind of see that there are these two sides of this, right? Where it's really easy for someone who doesn't, have the, who isn't initiated, as it were, to, the world of OCD and seeing like what effect it can have on people. Where, as you said, it's easier for us to personalize what the other person's doing. Whereas, so is that the fact that you didn't personalize, is that something based on your experience or knowledge, or is that just the kind of spicy gal you are, as it were?
I think it's the latter. I think it's just who I am. I've never been a very and not saying that anybody who has this reaction is insecure, but I'm not a very insecure human.
Yeah.
I'm a jealous in relationships human. So that helps, right? Mm-hmm. But, if you do have those, tendencies, then it's easy totally for that to come out when somebody's like, I want to break up with you over nothing.
Yeah. So with this first kind of, this first fight that you had and that first hint of his symptoms coming out, how was this addressed? How did you two discuss this afterwards? If I imagine, I'm making the assumption here that there was some discussion about, hey, what the heck was that?
Yeah. I can't remember exactly, it was like 10 years ago now, but I'm pretty sure that's probably what prompted us to go to his therapist, to Laura. That would make sense, and have that, conversation there. I'm pretty sure that happened. But we did, whenever the therapy session with her was, she gave me, great psychoeducation on OCD and relationship OCD in general, and like what it might, present as, what his in particular presents as. So that was like definitely helpful. To be like, all right, like that was OCD. That's not about me or him. The next time that pops up, I'm going to do what I did and respond, not accommodating and not, feeding into it. I'm just going to let it be and try my hardest not to personalize it. And that was like probably the best thing we could have ever done, is go have that session.
How else did you see ROCD showing up? In other words, what other ways? Because it doesn't just show up in one way. It can be sneaky for a lot of folks. How did you start to see it more and more, or in other ways did you see it?
Yeah, definitely. There was the confessing too that came out. He would confess like, "Oh, I think that girl is attractive" or whatever, and I'm like, "Good for you." Like, cool.
Was she?
Probably.
Like, a lot of attractive people out there.
We're allowed to be attracted to other humans, right? Like, just because you're in a relationship, you're not blind, right? Like, it's allowed. So there's definitely that. There was, I'm pretty sure in like other fights, other arguments, like there was flavors of like, well, is this the right relationship? Is this the right person. Like, should we get married? Like, do I want to get married to you? You know, there was flavors of that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Also a lot of, well, I guess it's kind of confession, but also like reassurance seeking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good at like knowing when he's doing that. And I'm just like, all right, thanks. I'm not going to respond to that. Which can be hard to do, but it's ultimately a good way to go, because you're not even letting him get it out.
Yeah, no, and that's a great approach. I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast, and that's a standard response. It's like, when you start to notice that your partner is making some effort towards reassurance seeking, or is trying to pull you into some type of compulsive cycle, you can say like, hey, you know what, the classic line that again I learned at OCDLA, so I'm sure Laura told you the exact same thing. I love you, but this sounds like it's your OCD, and Laura told me not to answer that, or I'm not going to answer that.
Yep, exactly.
Right. Was that verbatim?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, I love you, but no. And it's hard. It's so hard for partners, because what do we want to do as partners? We love the person that we're with. So
we want to validate.
We want to do what we can to help take that pain away. We want to reassure other people, because isn't that what we do as partners?
Yeah.
But when it comes to these certain things, it can be really, really difficult. I also want to illustrate, and I can't thank you enough for sharing your story, because I also want to point out your partner is a trained OCD therapist. You both went to therapy school at that time. He ostensibly went through a treatment that was so intense he horked in session so he was doing well, and yet things poke out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They totally do.
Yes.
Even now, 10 years out, right? There's still times, both of us, when our OCD comes out, and could definitely cause problems if we let it. So I wouldn't, it's like, set your expectations of like, you're never gonna be 100% free of relationship OCD or any type of OCD, but like, it's super manageable, and you can, learn how to respond to it and not have it like take over and, ruin the relationship.
I want to put that on a t-shirt or on a billboard on something. It's because it is the idea that, this is the brain that you have, and it's a wonderful, awesome brain that does these weird, funky things. But who's that to be said about? Everybody. So it's going to show up from time to time. Yeah. So as you two have kind of gone through these highs and lows of, symptoms kind of showing up and, figuring things out, what were some ways that you two figured out better, more efficient ways to communicate to each other? Either, hey, things are kind of poking up a little bit more than they ought to, or helping to shut down. How are those conversations, and what did you find that worked for you two?
Honestly, and I have zero shame, we go to couples therapy. Okay. We do.
But what is it about that really helps?
Yeah. And this couples therapist isn't, even like OCD informed. It's, basic like communication. Yeah. When we communicate and don't, hold things in and mind read, when we actually like communicate and say like, this is what I'm struggling with, could you how could you support me in that? Like, what can you, take over off my plate, and all that good, general communication stuff. Like, it makes the OCD a lot better, because then when you're communicating well, then it probably is quieting a lot of the relationship OCD intrusive thoughts, because you're not having as many arguments and issues. But that's a main way. Yeah, we've learned to communicate through the couples therapy, and it's been wonderful. Other than that, we work together too. We have Cohen OCD therapy together, which you would think would be a bad thing usually, but it's really taught us a lot, and really like forced us to have to really communicate well together and nicely and collaboratively.
Now that you're business partners too.
Yeah.
I mean, my business partner is right next door. So my wife and I share an office as well.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, she's not an OCD therapist. She wants nothing to do with OCD. And to be fair, she's a couples therapist, and I want nothing to do with couples therapy. So it works out well.
Yes.
So it works out well. All right, but so in that, so I love that. Now we really wanted to get at like what is it that was helpful. Now, how do you find ways to communicate with each other? Because you're talking about sharing with one another, hardships, how you two can be helpful with one another where you're struggling within the relationship. How do you prevent that healthy process from being hijacked by OCD? Because I could certainly see where reassurance seeking, confession can kind of weasel its way in. What are some safeguards that you two have had in that process?
Yeah, totally. Well, let's see. He says about me, like with my OCD, and I go and, try to reassurance seek and do stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Also, he learns like the signs of it, right? Like my voice kind of changes and I get kind of like a, hey, Andrew. Like I'm about to like ask you a really stupid question. That's clearly OCD. Yeah, it's like learning the signs for your particular partner and their OCD. Like that would be good.
Did he pick up on that or did you pick up on that?
I think he picked up on it for sure. Yeah. Okay. He picked up on that I was doing that. And I pick up on like when he's struggling, he gets very quiet and like that if you knew him like on a personal level, like he's not quiet. He's the life of the party. So picking up on those nuances of when the OCD is coming up. Mm-hmm. And once you notice that, then being like, all right, I'm not like taking your OCD bait. I'm just like, okay, thank you for sharing. Love that. Love you. And moving past it without engaging with it is obviously super helpful. And having really good education on OCD is like paramount. You can't do this stuff without understanding how OCD works and like why we're asking you to ignore your partner when they're like, crying in the corner. It's not, it doesn't make logical sense. You have to have the like explanation for why we're asking you to do that for it to make sense.
Yeah. What are some ways that when you first started to notice those signs, right? Because I think that's a great way to. It's an important thing for the partner in that relationship to kind of get to know the signs, right? Where are the things you can start to head it off at the pass? Yeah. How did you share that with him? That hey, I think you're doing a compulsion. Yeah,
very like playfully. Okay. Like OCD treatment, really a lot of the time includes a lot of humor, which is great because I like to make jokes. But like it's just like you're joking, right? That's your OCD. Like hi, hey OCD, and call it like a his name for his OCD was Bitumen because it sounds like an uptight staunch.
Boy, it sure does.
Yeah, so I'm like
he watched a lot of Family Guy, didn't he?
He does like Family Guy.
You don't say. Yeah.
Was that a thing in it?
It was. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just saying hi to it. Hi, Chester, or mine is Chester. Hi, Chester. Hi, Bitumen. Welcome to the show. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just making it lighthearted.
Okay. Is that when you two call each other out for that? Is there what does it feel like to be the person calling out? Because I can imagine there are some partners out there who are like, I don't I don't want to have to call it out for them. That's not my responsibility. And I get that. And then the other side is, what does it feel like it when he calls you out from that perspective? So I guess tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's very true. I think back in the beginning, it was harder to hear. Right now, it's been like 10 years of calling each other out, and I'm, I've habituated to it. It's not as big of a deal.
Practice makes better with that too.
For sure. Yeah. It can totally though be difficult to hear. For sure. In the beginning, it was like, "What are you therapizing me? I'm not your patient."
I've said that. We've all said that. Go ahead.
For sure. Yeah, it can be hard to listen to and annoying, and like you're in therapy from your husband or your partner or whatever. So yeah, I get that. It's super annoying. But I think it's like, it's not just good for your partner with the OCD symptom, it's good for you, right? Because you don't want to get too like embroiled with it for yourself, right? Like, it doesn't do good things for you as the partner of the person with relationship OCD to like start arguing with relationship OCD. That can be like very make you feel very insecure and make you feel very attacked and very like, uneasy and unsure about your relationship, outside of the other person's OCD. Like, it brings it up in you. So I think it protects your own peace and your own sanity to do that. So if it's motivating to think about it that way, to like not engage with them and call them out on it, like, it's not just helping them, it's probably helping you too.
Kind of help to create those boundaries and not, stepping into the faulty logic of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because that's a toxic cycle you don't want to be involved in. I'm sure.
For sure. Yeah. I'll make a little bit of an assumption. As confident as you are, sometimes our emotions get the best of us.
Sure.
What's helped re-ground you once you've been pulled into that story, and at some points when your partner hurts you, or the OCD Bitterman hurts you?
Yeah.
What helps recenter you?
It's a good question. I really like to watch reality television.
All right.
So like that kind of stuff, like self-care is good.
Okay.
Therapy for yourself or with in the couple. Highly recommend couples therapy. It's amazing. Yeah, those things. And then having the conversation with your partner afterwards. And like, that was hard to hear.
Mm-hmm.
That sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having a conversation about it.
What I love about that, the arc, and I don't know if that's the exact order that things are happening in, but I noticed that in that you talked about self-care first, which the first thing involved disengage, right? That, it didn't start with, no, we need to process this right now when anxiety and feelings and anger and whatever are high. It was, I need some space. Now that sounds like that's a method that works for you, and everyone's going to be a little bit different. But as we've all learned from couples therapy training, at least, is that when emotions are high, you're not listening to the other person. You're not expressing yourself very clearly, anyways. Letting all those feelings subside, and with the intention, again, the third part, to re-engage and to say, hey, this hurt, and then we need to figure out how to get back on track. Yeah.
Very astute. Yes.
That's why I'm here.
You must be a therapist.
That's what my office says.
That's what your business card says.
So far. Yeah. But yeah, so I think for the partners out there, because again, it's a little bit different, this episode, like talking about what partners can do in this, and, thinking about self-care for each individual person. So let's say, when ostensibly, if you're meeting with somebody, if you're meeting with you or the other version of you, whatever that might be, the partner in this, what are some things that you find to be helpful and that you have found to be helpful that you would communicate to them, and how to best hold their ground, hold their own self, and not let OCD turn them into something that isn't them? Yeah,
totally. I think what you said, like taking a beat, it's a cornerstone of a lot of therapy, but particularly for OCD. Mm-hmm. Someone's triggered, we're not going to like try to rationalize with them. We're going to let them calm down, mm-hmm. and then come back when they're, calm and not triggered, so they can access the logical side of their brain, and have that conversation then. So I think that's perfect. But I think also you don't want to let it go. You want to have the conversation when they're calm, right? Because that's mainly for you as the partner, right? Like, you don't want to take, I curse a lot, sorry. You don't want to take shit. You don't want to let it build up and fester, right? That's going to lead to resentment.
Yeah.
and difficult feelings. So you want to address it. You don't want to let it fly away and just forget about it and push it away. You want to address it and have that conversation, because it's easy for OCD, relationship OCD in particular, to walk all over you if you let it, But I think, come back and have the conversation, do your self-care, do your own therapy, do your couples therapy, have good friends to talk to and vent to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
Are there some things that either you do or you advise folks to do where and I don't know what your time frame is. I don't know if you need to get out of here.
Good.
Cool. So 4 more hours of this, everybody. Buckle up. It won't be, I swear. But what are some things that you might recommend to other folks to... Now I lost my train of thought. I'm a stupid joke. Recommendations that you would give to somebody to help kind of, you know what? I'm just going to abandon that entirely and just come up with a different question. Ugh. This has never happened to you, has it?
Never. I'm perfect.
That's nice. That must be nice. So it's crazy then that he would have questions about whether or not you were the right person.
I know, right? He's weird.
It is weird. Oh, you know what? That's a whole separate thing. I'm going to go back in time. This is a question I should have asked. All right. So for someone who is someone who's struggling with relationship OCD, when you are considering marrying somebody, there should be a little bit of thought going into that. Yeah. We don't willy-nilly just go, that one, I'll take that one, wrap her up. We should think about it. So where does that line go for too much versus not enough? Yeah, totally. Okay, yeah. I think that's what makes relationship OCD particularly hard. Mm-hmm. I find it to be, for me at least as a therapist, the hardest one to help people with, because it is rooted in reality, right? Like you said, you do need to think about, if this is the right relationship, and you do need to consider if this is the right person before jumping in and getting married and having kids and all that. Like, that would be a good idea. So yeah, I think what helps us and what helps my clients is like when there's this sense of urgency that the person with ROCD is having, like, I need to know right now if she or he or they or, is the right person for me. I need to know right now, if I'm married. That's a good indication that it's OCD, and you could probably take a minute and, think about it a little later. That sense of urgency is pretty big. Look for that. The excessiveness of it. Are you constantly thinking about it, right? Like, I don't have ROCD. I have other types of OCD, but I had thoughts in my head, like, okay, I'm engaged. Should I go through with this? What makes me, wanting to get married to this human? And, it's a 5-minute conversation in my head, and then I move on, right? Like, if it's completely excessive and happening a lot and, for long periods of time, that's another good indication that it's more so OCD than logically thinking through your decisions. What else? If it's giving you a whole lot of distress, like, if you're playing mental ping pong, going back and forth in your brain, trying to figure it out, another good indication. Those are some good tips. Yeah. And at the end of the day, there's that, and this is a super romantic component, that we could be wrong.
Yeah. You can't be 100% certain about anything. I've been having this conversation a lot in my sessions. You can't be 100% certain about anything. You can be pretty confident. Like, I would say I'm like 95% sure that marrying him was a good decision, right? But there's those days where he really grinds my gears, and I'm like, why did I do that? And that's okay. You can't be 100% certain about anything.
Right. And what's that?
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Is that, we can't be 100% certain, but we can be confident. And that's kind of what we're going with, is we're going to be as confident as we can until we learn something new, or until we're proven 100%. And when that happens? Neither do I.
When or if it happens.
When or if that happens. And the point is that we can also make, we need to figure out then how to make these things work with this other person. It's hard. I sometimes reframe, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, I reframe ROCD as a combination of genuine relationship problems mixed with and responded to by OCD means, right? Because we do need to figure these things out, right? The genuine relationship problem that it sounded like was a faulty belief that good relationships don't have arguments, right?
Yep.
Now, that's a faulty belief that we can correct, but it was managed through rumination, through checking, through, God knows what, right? So that's where we can work on correcting and addressing the relationship thing while also addressing and correcting some of the OCD compulsive responses. And it's a mix because it's tough to say like no, and it's tough to say, oh, this person that you're with, because you have ROCD, you just have to be with them forever because you can't break up because breaking up is a compulsion.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not confined. You're not in prison with this person, right?
Right.
If you make the decision to end it, then that's okay. It doesn't mean everything's OCD that you ever think about in terms of the relationship.
Right. Maybe they were the one and you missed it, but you know what? Maybe they were also the person that you broke up with, and you're going to find someone who's workable in a different way.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe. So I will let you go, I swear. What are some advice, guidance, perhaps reassurance that you would give to someone in your position? I know there's a bajillion other questions that I'm sure I'm going to have about 10 minutes after we get off the phone with each other. But happens. But what are some things that you would say to the person who's in your shoes, who may be struggling with the person that they're with, and that hurt comes back and back and back?
Yeah, totally. I think first and foremost, get some good psychoed education on OCD and relationship OCD in particular. There's a good book, I think it's called ROCD. I forgot the author.
Shiva Raje.
Thank you.
Also an OCD LA therapist.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's great. Yeah, amazing book. Get some good education on what it is you're facing here, and some good strategies on how to deal with it. Secondly, I would get with your partner and, have when he or she or they are calm, have the conversation about what their symptoms are and what to look out for, and have like a conversation about what you're going to do in response to the OCD. So like everyone's on the same page and knows like what the strategies are. So it's not like a surprise. And obviously I've been saying it throughout the whole podcast. Make sure you're, do your own therapy, do your couples therapy, do your self-care. Yeah. Those are my highlights of great points to consider in your journey.
And one thing that you're exemplifying, you didn't specify this necessarily, but bringing a lot of humor, not taking things so seriously, and life ending in the relationship. That relationships are hard. And as the old saying goes, if you haven't thought about killing your partner, are you even married? Yeah. You're going to have these hard times. And, having that humor, having that resiliency and that determination that we can come back and we can find our way out of this. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're going to fight. Nobody's like perfect and doesn't fight. Like that's that faulty appraisal, that you were talking about. Relationships involve some disagreement, and it's healthy to not agree with everything each other says. That could be dependent. That's a whole nother topic. But awesome. Understand that it's okay to fight.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate everything that you've shared today, and this was super fun to get to know you a little bit more. Where can people find a little bit more information about you?
Yeah, we have our website, cohenocdtherapy.com. Our practice, me and my husband, Andrew, that I've been talking about behind his back. No, I'm just kidding. And our 2 associates right now. We're in Westlake Village, California. Oh, I froze.
Oh, you did. You're back.
Look us up. Say hi. We're involved in the OCD community.
Awesome.
That's where you can find.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for your time and sharing your expertise and your experience.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Fearcast. If you would like your question answered on a future episode, please click on the Submit a Question link at fearcastpodcast.com. If you would like your question answered sooner, please send me a recording of your question to questions@fearcastpodcast.com or by sending me an audio message through Instagram by DMing me at fearcastpodcast on Instagram. If you like the Fearcast, please write a review on your podcast platform of choice. Please remember that the Fearcast is not a substitute for psychotherapy. If you need a little bit of help in your recovery, please go over to fearcastpodcast.com and click on the Find Help link, and there's going to be some information for you there. So until next time, take a risk, challenge yourself, and don't take your brain too seriously. Bye.